Some of the other things maybe I shouldn't have done, or most people shouldn't do to get started in their lives. At 19, I was married, and at 20, I was a father. I went into family-related businesses, nothing with any great promise. And that's one of the rules and one of the lessons you should learn, is that you should not go into a business that has no future. I bought a truck. I went to auction sales and bought scrap metals and salvage materials and all kinds of things, and I traveled around loading a truck and unloading the truck and selling off motors and appliances, whatever I could do to make a living. I went into the wire and cable business. None of them had much of a promise. And then finally I saw the handwriting on the wall, and I made a change. That change was a decision to go back to school and to get a job. I had a business that I had to liquidate. I had other issues to deal with. School would be an interference with a full-time job. I went to Pace for 5 years at night, and I was a different kind of a student. I made the dean's list every year, and I graduated very well. After going to Pace for approximately a year and getting rid of my business problems, I decided that I would need the required experience in accounting. You needed at that time 3 years of accounting experience in order to get your CPA degree and certificate. So I started working for an accounting firm for $85 a week. And I started picking up a few clients on my own, which obviously had the effect of supplementing the income, but it had a negative effect as well. My having clients was a hindrance to my getting a position with the big firms. They frowned on you having other interests, especially clients. My first job with an accountant was a firm that had an awful lot of what they call write-up work. You go into small businesses and you write up their books by hand. Computers were not very prevalent at that time. And you do a bank reconciliation, and you summarize the books periodically, and you do a tax return, and you're finished. It was interesting work, but it was not very challenging. During my earlier years as an accountant, I applied for a number of different positions at different firms, never leaving for the money alone, leaving more for the experience. I wanted something different. I didn't know what, but something other than what I was working on. So I took up with smaller firms, small to medium-sized firms, and I worked at a number of them. Then one day, I started with a new firm, and the first day on the job, after I walked into the office and spent an hour meeting the few people that worked there, they sent me uptown with one of the other members of the firm to an account where I was going to be working for a week or two. It was a record manufacturer and a music publisher. And it didn't take me long working at that company to find what I was looking for a long time. I just loved what I saw, the people, the industry, and then the firm got another client in a similar type operation, but a much bigger client in the record manufacturing and music publishing business in Memphis, Tennessee. And the two partners of the firm that I worked for were talking about getting a specialist in to handle that account. And because of my interest in the industry and the work that I had done and where I was going with this, I expressed a very, very strong interest in handling the client. I almost begged for the job. And finally, they gave it to me. It was a great experience. As a matter of fact, at one point, I almost went to work for the firm as a financial officer. My choices to me were pretty obvious. It was either to go inside a record company or a big music publisher or some entertainment conglomerate and become a financial officer, a controller, or to go to work for an accounting firm that did similar type work, which is just hard to find. One of the things I always remember my wife at the time telling me was, You don't watch the clock. You should work for yourself. And so I did. I never told any of the clients of the firm that I was leaving. I never, ever expected to get any of their business. But the client that I first went to work for on that one day heard that I was leaving. Between the owner of the business and his right-hand man, they asked me if I would continue on with that client when I left. And there was no question in my mind that I would do so. With that client and my small clients, I didn't need the per diem work anymore, and I had the nucleus of a practice. I built a firm that I was just ecstatic about. I loved it. I loved the work that I did. It was more of a management type accounting practice. We did what used to be in the early days known as cradle to the grave accounting. It was popularly known in the entertainment industry as business management. We sat with the clients as part of their management, planning for their futures, as I mentioned, their retirements, dealing with their troubles, sometimes marital troubles, sometimes criminal troubles, but whatever it is, we dealt with them. The firm built into a multi-million-dollar firm, and 5 years ago, I retired. Some of the people that we've worked with, John Lennon and Yoko Ono, the Violent Femmes, Isaac Hayes, New Kids on the Block, Whitney Houston, NSYNC, Justin Timberlake, The Lox, Funkmaster Flex, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards. We dealt with the producer and writer of Hair. In TV and the movies, we represented Felicia Rashad and Charles Durning. I told you at first what I did are things you shouldn't do. Let me tell you a few things that you should do. Most importantly, do what you enjoy. Don't go into something that you find a grudging thing to do every day. You hate going to work. You can't wait till you get home. Life is a misery. Know what you do and know it well. Be passionate about your work. Have good ethics, and a little ambition can't hurt. And if you get married, marry a good and understanding person. It goes a long way. That's my story.